Hello everyone, it's Steffi here. Do you know what I'm sick of? Nearly every time I see someone scale FromSoft games, the three Dark Souls protagonists are used interchangeably, and saying that the three characters differ in stats and hacks is seen as blasphemous. And when I finally found people scaling the characters individually, I discovered that it's commonly accepted that the bearer of the curse is seen as the weakest one. Which is wrong. Anyone with a superficial understanding of the lore of the first two games should be able to tell you that the Bearer of the Curse versus the Chosen Undead is a one-sided matchup. Whether you look at feats, statements, narrative implications, or chain scaling, the conclusion is the same. This video was originally going to be longer, and if people are interested, I can make a far more in-depth analysis of both characters. However, I think it's more urgent that you people get a swift wake-up call about this matchup. Small disclaimer, I know very little about Dark Souls 3 lore. I've only played the game once, and I didn't like it. So I won't be able to tell you how the Ashen one scales to the other two. Bigger disclaimer, I feel I should apologize for the massive slowdown of content on this channel. I have been having medical and technical problems, such as having to rewrite this script due to my cloud not backing up. That said, I plan to be much more active over the summer and hopefully at least double the number of videos on this channel. So, stay tuned I guess. Also, sporadic spoilers for both Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2. Let's start with the narrative and go chronologically. In Dark Souls 1, you play as the Chosen Undead on a journey through time and space in the kingdom of Lord Ran to fulfill the Fire Linking Conspiracy, by either linking the fire or by becoming a Dark Lord. The Chosen Undead first escapes the Northern Asylum, rings the bells of awakening, gets to Anne Orlando, beats ONS, and gets the Lord Vessel. Along the way, they kill countless Hollows. According to the lore, the souls of Hollows are not reabsorbed back into the world. Instead, those souls are absorbed directly by the Chosen Undead, increasing their power. By doing this, they reach strength on par with an ancient lord and go on to take out 4 lords and their prerequisites. However, instead of their souls going into the Chosen Undead, they go into the Lord Vessel to create a gate to the kiln of the first flame. But before they kill Gwyn, the Chosen Undead travels back in time to kill Manus, who is definitely the third of Pygmy, and who is hollow. So the Chosen Undead gets his strength. So, by the end of Dark Souls 1, the Chosen Undead possesses power comparable to roughly 2 lords. Now, let's move on to Dark Souls 2. In Dark Souls 2, the Bearer of the Curse is drawn to Shenelot's memories of the New Continent to find a cure for the Hollowing Curse in the kingdom of Drangleic. Early in the game, Velka and Havel place a requirement before anyone can enter Drangleic Castle. To proceed, the Bearer of the Curse must either gather 1 million souls or acquire 4 great souls. And what are these great souls? Oh, you know, it's just the 4 Lord souls from the first game, and this time they actually get absorbed for strength. Think about what that means. The Chosen Undead spends an entire game reaching a level comparable to 2 lords. The Bearer of the Curse reaches a higher level before the midpoint of their journey, and then they go on to conquer the rest of the New Continent, defeat Nashandra, defeat Aldea, and they end the second game by defeating the Hollow Curse. Something that not even the strongest Dark Souls 1 protagonist, Vendrick, could do. Narratively, Dark Souls 2 constantly reinforces the idea that the protagonist is surpassing everyone who came before them. If we look at it through statements, it doesn't get much better. First, I need to preface that items in Dark Souls are all souls or soul memory. That's why you can store them all in your pocket and why you need to farm them, instead of just picking them off the ground. But most importantly for power scaling, this can be used to argue that spells and items are as strong when you use them as when the original user used them. Dark Souls 1's strongest equipment and spell descriptions all cap out at the level of a single lord. The problem is that lord level power simply isn't the ceiling in Dark Souls 2. The Bearer of the Curse not only reaches that level, but they have statements putting them on par with characters like Aldea, who far surpass single lord strength. As for Hex abilities, the Bearer of the Curse can replicate most of what the Chosen Undead can do, while also possessing a wide range of options that the Chosen Undead doesn't have. And the few Hex abilities that the Chosen Undead has that the Bearer of the Curse doesn't aren't really decisive. So even in terms of Hex, the Bearer of the Curse is more likely to win. Now, When it comes to feats, I'll be generous and upscale the chosen undead to make it closer. I'll say that both of them are capable of hurting each other, because both characters are glass cannons due to them mainly using weapons and spells. When it comes to speed, scaling the chosen undead beyond supersonic is quite difficult, but I'll say that Thief's Breath might be a laser and Moonlight Butterfly's magic might be actual moonlight, so I can argue that due to chosen undead being able to fight them and dodge their attacks, the chosen undead is around the speed of light. The problem is that the bearer of the curse also dodges attacks that have similar arguments, and unlike the chosen undead, the bearer of the curse also dodges teleporters, giving them a strong argument for superior reactions. So even when we are being charitable, the chosen undead doesn't gain a meaningful speed advantage. At best, they are comparable. At worst, they are slower. And that's really the story of this matchup as a whole. Every category where the chosen undead appears competitive, the bearer of the curse is either equal or superior. Narratively stronger, better scaling, comparable feats, more versatile abilities. By the time all the evidence is considered, I don't see a convincing argument for the chosen undead winning more often than not. So, if those two ever fought, it would essentially become a battle of attrition. A Dark Souls version of Smash Bros. Who runs out of stocks first? Who loses themselves to hollowing first? And because I believe the bearer of the curse wins the majority of encounters, I believe the chosen undead would be the first to fall. The winner is the bearer of the curse. So anyway, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and maybe leave a nice comment. If you hated it, hit the dislike button and leave me a few creative death threats. At least put some effort into it. I also finally made a Twitter account where I'll be posting channel updates. I've been thinking about streaming as well, so if that ever happens, that's where I'll announce it first. Anyway, that's all for today. Thanks for watching and I'll be seeing you in the next one.